Now we're on to part 8, and we're still on page 912 at the table here. This table is table 24.2, talking about the vitamins. We left off with vitamin C. One thing that I should probably add to the picture here is that vitamin C, besides being used in the formation of collagen, and remember how extensive collagen is in the body? So when people do have the beginnings of scurvy or lack of, or deficiency of vitamin C, you notice it in a variety of ways. So there's bleeding from the gums, there's bleeding from wounds that don't heal very quickly. There's also the uptake of iron from the diet requires vitamin C as an assistant. So we need to have vitamin C to get iron in. If you look at a prescription formula or a prescription from the doctor, when they give iron as a supplement, it always contains vitamin C in order to get iron across the membrane. Just like with calcium, you need vitamin D to potentiate the membrane transfer. Okay, another thing that's probably not listed here, but nevertheless I should inform you of, is going to be prednisone or cortisol whenever we deal with stress or we deal with the, the guidance of growth hormone from the pituitary, growth factors from the liver, and the synthesis of muscle and bone and other constituents of a growing human body. Vitamin C is a coenzyme in all the activities of cortisol, and so the adrenal cortex actually is one of the places where we actually store vitamin C. Another detail is that humans have a broken vitamin C gene in our genome. So historically, possibly some species that preceded us had plenty of vitamin C, and in fact mammals often have vitamin C. And I would point out that that goats, which are more or less the size of a human being if you consider the mass of a goat, and goat flocks and so on, or herds, that a goat actually is able to synthesize about 13 grams per day of vitamin C. That's 13,000 milligrams. So that's quite a lot. And maybe it's an indicator that we, who are more or less the size of a goat, would be wise to increase our intake of vitamin C whenever possible. Okay, we've already done vitamin A as a retinol equivalent, namely carotenoids. So we began with that. Now we're on to vitamin D. Vitamin D is a steroid hormone, actually made by the skin in the human when the skin is exposed to sunlight. Okay, so it's an essential vitamin, and it also indicates to us that historically, as a developing species, we needed to have vitamin D as a part of our life, and it's basically letting us know that why do we need this is we need it to potentiate the transfer of calcium. That's the main deal, is we're going to transfer calcium across membranes. And in particular, where do we need calcium crossing membranes? We need it to get through the digestive tract into the blood so that we can build bone, teeth, and so on. But actually, just as important is we can't have a muscle twitch, right, without having calcium initiate the muscle twitch. Nor can we have neurotransmitter ever enter a synapse unless we have calcium at the axon terminal cross the membrane. So that's pretty important. The muscular system and the nervous system do not function in the absence of calcium. And more recently, we discovered that it's important for heart health because calcium plays this role in slowing down the heartbeat to have a plateau so that we get a complete stroke volume. So it's important to note that calcium used as a supplement for people who have congestive heart failure or who have, especially in an advanced case of heart failure, you can increase the stroke volume and the cardiac output by as much as 18%. with just the administration of a normal dose of calcium. And so that implicates vitamin D in all of this. Okay, so and where do we get vitamin D from? Since we're here looking at all of this, we actually begin the minerals with vitamin D. And it turns out that vitamin D is found in spinach and broccoli in large amounts. Then you could go, if you needed to find it in a dairy product, Parmesan cheese actually concentrates it pretty well. So sardines are also important. So these are the things where we're looking. Important to note how important spinach is, and that you must cook the spinach to get rid of the oxalic acid. So if you have cooked spinach, you add calcium to the bone matrix. If you have raw spinach, I'm so sorry to say this because I know how much you like spinach salad, but if you have raw spinach, sadly, you remove calcium from the bone matrix. Not a good thing. So please cook your spinach, and remember to put some broccoli in with it if you have a chance. That would always be good. So the other thing that's missing from the prenatal diet of a pregnant woman would be calcium. Calcium is one of the most, how shall I say, the rate limiting factor nutrients that exist. So calcium and B complex vitamins, very important. Pressing on to our next item of interest here, and I have a limited number of minerals here to work with, but iron is very important because we have this thing called red blood cells, and we have hemoglobin, and you'd like to be having some iron. So we get it from spinach, and we get it from green peas. Not that many people are really into sauerkraut, but if you like it, there it is. It's great to have. There are certain beans that are very helpful: lima beans, kidney beans, navy beans. Notice that we don't get iron from red meat as much as we get it from these other constituents up here in the front. So look for where the iron is and rely on it in those locations. Potassium is in balance with sodium, and we need to have a balance of potassium and sodium so that we get the membrane potentials that we need. Okay, so and we also use potassium for pumping at the kidney. We'll learn about that. The heavy hitters here are spinach and zucchini. That's where you get it, but you can check down your list here to see all of your favorite foods. Okay, who knew that a baked potato was good in this particular regard? One of the things that I would say is that potassium is the intracellular ion in greatest supply, just like sodium is the extracellular ion that is greatest in concentration. So once you get food from the forest, the meadow, your garden, or wherever, you clean the food. Actually, what you've actually preserved intracellularly here is potassium. It's the reason why animals in the wild, as well as if you're raising animals, everyone needs a salt lick, right? And so the thing that's not missing generally in the diet is potassium. What is missing is oftentimes sodium, and of course we invented Safeway and that whole problem went away big time. Okay, so now we have phosphorus. Phosphorus is needed in the production of tooth enamel, as well as in the calcification and mineralization of bone matrix. So phosphorus is important. Of course, you have ATP, so phosphorus is really important in that. And so everything to do with also DNA, RNA, very important in that, all of that processing. And remember that we have phosphate heads on our phospholipids, so all membrane has to have phosphates. So that's our 40 or 50 trillion cells. We're looking at, I'm listing here zucchini and spinach. If you want to put salmon up front there too, that's kind of a good idea. So that completes the process there for that. We'll pick up our next nutrient here, magnesium. Magnesium is necessary for the synthesis of proteins in conjunction with vitamin C as coenzymes. And we're looking at spinach as the heavy hitter here, and broccoli as a heavy hitter. And I listed here a little synthetic pathway. The pre-collagen then polymerizes as the fibers of collagen, and you need vitamin C, you need magnesium in order to make the polymerization work. Okay, so that's that.